Now the deal of it still boils down to, will the real heirs stand up?
Right.
The land's Morocco.
Right.
Let's do this. Let's do this. And we can get back to this. And keep me on point if I get off. If you feel, I need to bring another thing back up.
Yeah.
Listen, while he's looking for that, I want to point something out to y'all. How many of y'all been down to Washington, D.C. to any of the Smithsonian museums? So practically nobody. The last Smithsonian that they built was called the American Indian Museum. Now, when the museum first opened up, we went down there. And I think I was in there maybe about a good 3.5 minutes before I started snapping. She was telling me to cool out. Now, since then, the museum has changed. When you first went in, you're not gonna ever see an ancient statue of an Indian because they don't exist. You've never seen one. If you see any statues of many Indians, they're modern. They come from late 1800s until now. You won't see one prior. So when you go into the museum, you expect to see some artifacts. You expect to see some ancient history, some statues or something. But you didn't. What you saw was wax figures. And the wax figures were of a very, 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 very light hue with skinny, pointy nose and long, stringy hair. So I'm in here and I'm like, well, where the hell are the American Indians? Now, this was long before I known anything about Moorish science, right? So I went back to the museum last week. I took some people to D.C. Those statues are now gone. No statues. What do they have now? Pictures. They have pictures of what is called American Indians, and they are people who look like what you just described. Right? You're not going to see no red man. You're not going to see anybody with any darker hue throughout that museum. You might see a couple of them, but you're going to see no artifacts. You're going to see no statues. You're going to see no crystals, no figurines, or nothing in this museum. It's a big old elaborate building, and there's nothing in there. So they had this little experiment where they were making chocolate. Now this cocoa was supposed to come from South America, but it was Albions and they're making it. So me being me, I pulled out the definition of American from the 1828 and read it loud enough so people can hear it. So the Albion's looking over my shoulder at what I'm reading and they paying close attention to what I'm saying. That the Aboriginal people of this land are the copper-colored individuals. And that the definition of American is now applied to the descendants of Europeans living in America. So when you got descendants of Europeans doing what you said, claiming to be a Native American, go back to the beginning of the statement, a descendant of a European. Once you're descended from something, you can't change to anything else. Whatever your mother be is what you be. Your mother's an Albion, you're an Albion. Your great-great-grandmother's an Albion, you're still an Albion.
Exactly.
I don't care how dark you get. Now, when you get an opportunity, go down to the museum and check it out. Don't flip out like I did. But just go down there, because you need to see these things. Because you actually know the truth. You actually know who you are. They don't. They have no clue. So then you read the definition and then you get them to thinking because they're going to want to know where it came from. So of course I said it. 1828 Noah Webster's Dictionary. Because I want them to go look it up. But at the same time, don't be sidetracked by that type of nonsense. When you hear Europeans saying, I'm a Native American. You descended from European. You Irish, you're going to
my eyes tell me you ain't who you say you are. That's just common sense, you know?
Yeah, so don't be misled at all. Islam.
Islam, thanks. But keep in mind that our children are influenced by that. This is where you have what is called the copper test. And that star in the Moorish flag is Venus. Its alchemical metal is copper. That's why Moors always cap their buildings in copper or gold, etc. And like you see some of these older buildings in Philadelphia, and you see the eaves of copper, because that's the patina of both the moisture and the air hitting copper. And that's called The copper test, that's who the American is.
American is the copper test?
Copper complexioned people on the continent.
Okay.
Sometimes they call it paper bag test too, for the old dark paper bags. But anyway, if you don't know yourself, you mentally disconnect and start following after the miseducation of Rome and give up your birthright. So if a man knows not himself, he has no claim of his own estate. Dred Scott case. Dred Scott? What is he, an Englishman? Talking about liberty? Plaintiff in error. See why that's used all around the world? To measure citizenship? You want to be Smith, Jones, and Johnson? Go ahead.